Hello, Brandon here. If this is your first time ever renting an apartment, moving out of your situation, going out into the new world of adulting, and you just need a step-by-step plan on how to collect your thoughts, well, this video is going to be for you. Listen, if this is your first time, even your second or third time, it can be scary, it can be daunting because it's a big next part of your life, which leads us into our first tip. Tip number one is know that you're going to make mistakes and that it's okay. If you're walking into a leasing office and you're asking questions or trying to figure things out or trying to look at different apartments that are going to be best for you, you may not have all the prior knowledge or any knowledge at all to do it with confidence, to know that you're doing the right thing. In this situation, the only wrong thing is not doing it at all. You don't want to put it off more and more until this thing becomes a giant monster. So tip number one is, again, tell yourself it's okay to make mistakes. Go out and start. Tip number two is start as early as possible. I want you guys to have at least 3 months of leeway. It doesn't mean that you have to get an apartment 3 months before you have to move. That means that you need to be taking every step that you can 3 months before you have to move. The worst thing that you can do for yourself is have all of these options, not actually go in and research them and go in person, and then find out that you're 2 weeks away from needing to move and you have no options. That's when you'll end up getting an apartment that does not suit your needs. For my next tip, you guys want to, of course, start researching apartments. You know, this is a no-brainer, but that's where it starts. What you want to do is you want to be able to find a certain price range that fits your ability to pay rent, pay for food, pay for gas, pay for insurance. You want to be able to lay out all of the different expenses so you know how much you're going to have left over after you pay rent. So when you're researching, make sure that you find the right budget for you. I want you to research 10 different locations that would fit your budget, that would fit your location, that would fit, you know, any amenities. You know, like if you want a pool, if you need a laundry machine, etc. Honestly, if you're just starting out, you don't want to focus on the gyms or the pools. I'd say that a laundry machine and dryer, that's going to be pretty important for you. It may seem like every single apartment has a washer and dryer, but that's actually not true. There are some apartments that only have connections for a washer and dryer, which means you need to buy your own washer and dryer, which I've had that situation and I didn't buy a washer and dryer. What I did was I went to a laundromat. They can rack up some costs, you know, it's about, you know, $4 or $5 per wash, but that's $4 or $5 versus $200, $300, $400 plus dollars per washer and dryer. Plus you actually have to get it up to your apartment as well. So now that you have your 10 different apartments that meet your location needs and price range, well, it's time to actually go in and talk to a leasing manager. Oh, you thought that you could just, I don't know, pick up a phone and call them? No, you can't, because that actually doesn't get much done. Maybe it will help confirm whether or not the unit is available, but actually going in is going to give you so much more information than just calling. Calling is the lazy way. Going in is what's going to get the job done. What can you expect when you go in there? They may say, hey, we actually don't have that unit available. Sometimes it's a tactic that they'll use in order to draw people in, just so that way they can show them or upsell them to a different unit. Sometimes they'll actually have cheaper units, so keep that in mind. You always want to try and find what their cheapest unit is, because if this is your first time, you don't want to be putting too much money into your apartment. Now, as far as the questions that you should be asking, well, I have a link down below that will take you to a website that has a lot of great questions that you can ask the leasing manager that will help you open up what secret fees they may have, or what kind of noise level that you might have from your fellow tenants, or what kind of amenities there are around in the area. They may not tell you everything right off the get-go. Now, some very important questions that I'm going to go over are, well, of course, how much is that rent going to be each month? What are the price of utilities and any other fees that are going to be incurred every month, as well as what's the deposit going to be like, and what's the admin fee going to be like. Have them do the math for you, because personally I'm very bad at math, and they've been doing this much longer than you have, especially if it's your first time. If it's their first time, run. You're going to want to ask, hey, how much income should I be making per month in order to qualify for this unit? Because they're going to either say, oh, you need 2 times rent, you need 2.5 times rent, or sometimes even 3 times rent in order to even qualify to apply for that unit. So if you make $1,000 a month, then you need to make $2,000 if it's 2 times rent, $2,500 if it's 2.5, or $3,000 if it's 3 times rent. Now, when it comes to your job, you want to make sure that you can get payment stubs from your job, because that will show the monthly income that you'll be receiving from that job to prove that you make enough money. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have enough money for that. And fair. Renting an apartment can be very expensive depending on where you are in your location. What you can do is actually get a roommate. So with a roommate, you have combined income. So if you make $1,000 and they make $1,500, that means together you make $2,500. So if you find an apartment that is 2 times rent, boom, you are $500 above that. That's why roommates are really important. Now, before you start going on Facebook and searching, for random strangers who will room with you, I would first reach out to friends, see if they or their friends that they trust are looking for an apartment. Then I would reach out to my family, see if they know anybody that they trust. And if you run out of all of those options, then and only then would I recommend going online and going down that route. Regardless of if it's your friend, if it's your friend's friends, or a family friend, or a random stranger on Facebook, you're gonna want to sit down with them and talk about what your expectations and what their expectations of rooming with you is like. Meaning, when are you guys gonna go to bed? Are you a partier? Are you a screaming gamer? How would you share food? How would you split up rent, utilities? Would you cook for each other? Or are you just going to kind of stay in your own little area? Another thing that would make life pretty difficult is if you got a roommate who you didn't like, because you were locked in a 1-year contract with that person. Also, you want to make sure that whoever you're sitting down with, they are good people, because a lot of these people who are looking for people to room with, there are some people who are down on their luck and they don't have the funds in order to live by themselves. You want to look out for those people. I know it sounds rough, but this is a big step in your life, and if you can't take care of yourself by getting an apartment, how are you going to potentially have to take care of another person who hasn't been able to take care of themselves? Get somebody who you feel you can trust and is strong enough to uphold their end of the deal, right? Cool. That means no single mothers. That means nobody who is in extreme poverty. I would highly recommend steering away from the opposite sex, because that can just get messy. Unless you're a smoker yourself, I wouldn't recommend getting a roommate who is a smoker, just because most apartments have issues with smoking. I know some of that might be harsh, but again, we have to take care of you first before you can even think about being able to take on somebody else's problems. So now that you have found somebody that you can trust, you have found somebody who is going to be in the same location as you, their price point is the same, you are ready to start going back to those apartments that you found promising that now you have a budget for. Let's say you had to knock a couple of those apartments off your list of 10 apartments to research. Maybe if it gets knocked down to maybe like 5 or 8, then that's fine. If it gets knocked down to 3 or below, definitely try and search for more apartments, because you're gonna want options here, just so they don't trap you into something that you don't want to do. And it's time to revisit those units with your roommate to be. I want you to actually go into those units, see if the space is going to be big enough for you and another person. The bathroom situation might be a 1 bathroom. Coordinate how clean you guys are going to be. Kind of start imagining where things are gonna go. Like, are we gonna put a couch there? Are we gonna put a TV there? Whose TV, whose couch, how would we separate our pots and pans? Where would we separate our food? How would we divide up the refrigerator? These are all very important things to think about. And I would even encourage you to start thinking for yourself and start thinking, okay, what do I need out of this situation? What can I communicate with them? Because honestly, this is a lot of information. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover everything here. It's a lot. But guess what? Again, just start doing it. We got this. You can do it. It just starts with the first step, right? So you boiled it down to the apartment that you want to get. You go in, you say, hey, I want this apartment. Let's get the keys. And they'll go, okay, well, we have to have you go over the contract. You have to sign certain things. We're going to ask for an admin fee, which could be like $50 to $100 to $150 or something like that. You won't get that money back. You'll put down a deposit, which if you don't get the apartment, if you don't for some reason meet all their qualifications, they will give the deposit back, I believe. Once you've signed everything, it's time to move in. Once you've given them their money, you're good to go. You'll start paying rent. Sometimes apartments will have an automatic payment system, which is really nice for you because you don't have to worry about bringing in a check every single month and possibly being late. And there you go. Moving is kind of a whole different video topic. I won't go over that in this video because it's a lot. But hey, you've gotten this far. Hopefully you've taken some notes. And if you haven't, rewatch this video. All right, well, hopefully you guys get what you need done. And until next time, my name is Brandon, and I'll see you on the other side of the camera.